I got written on my agenda in red, added today, jetter truck repair approval. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with that addition, as I guess it's sent out Friday.
Friday.
John, if I could I discuss a couple others? Under
Yes.
old business, B, alcohol approval, alcohol license approval. The applicant has asked that this be pulled, so I would request that
We'll
be
just leave it there and pull it when we get there officially.
as you want. And then also under new business F, I'd like to add the consideration of a four-way stop on Confederate, Old Philadelphia, and Philadelphia Lane.
Okay. With that addition, would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion? I heard it from Tony first. Could I get a second from you, Kurt?
Second.
All in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you. Okay, Jim, I'll leave it that one, but new, I'm gonna put Confederate. Okay. Now, okay. The minutes of the August 6, 2018 regular meeting, Lisa?
Mayor, we recall the meeting to order promptly at 6 p.m. He requested Lonnie Miller to give the invitation. Councilmember Tony Fountain led him in follow the pledge of allegiance. Mayor, we asked that the agenda be reviewed and approved by council. Councilmember Anson made a motion to approve the agenda. Councilmember Kurt Rattfield seconded the motion. Motion carried unanimously. City Clerk Lisa Boyle read the minutes of the July 2nd, 2018 regular meeting. Councilmember Anson made a motion to adopt the minutes. Councilmember Sonny Proctor seconded the motion. Motion carried unanimously. Item A under old business, Mayor Weaver stated that although there was no old business on the agenda, he would like an update from City Manager Jim Looney on the Richard Street property donation. Mr. Looney stated that Attorney Bill Pickett was looking into the transfer to the city, in particular the ownership. He stated that it might be some difficulty in the transfer due to the number of names on the ownership of the property. He also stated that the family had asked that the city be required to use the property as a park. Mayor Weaver stated that he would like to keep this item under old business. Item A under new business. Mayor Weaver recognized Haley Bushey of the Jasper Merchants Association to present to council the need for the city to close North Main Street for the Marble Festival. She stated that due to safety reasons, she is asking council to close the street from Saturday morning for the parade through Sunday around 6:30 p.m., October 6th and 7th. She stated that vendors will be set up in the parking areas for both days of the festival. Mayor Weaver called on Police Chief Greg Lovell to discuss detouring the traffic during this time. Ms. Bucci stated that the road would be closed from Highway 53 crossing to the old Integra Bank location. She also stated that the JMA would contact all other business owners about the closing and get opinions on the closing. Mayor Weaver stated that he was going to let council make that decision, but he wants to voice his concern that in his opinion, this will create a heart attack on Main Street. He stated that if he was voting, he would probably vote no. More discussion followed regarding traffic and detour signage. Mayor Weaver entertained a motion. Councilmember Kurt Rattfield asked to abstain from voting as he was a member of JMA. Mayor Weaver said that it was actually a chamber event, so he would be allowed to vote. Councilmember Anson made a motion to allow North Main Street be closed from Saturday a.m. at race time to Sunday approximately 6:30 p.m. Councilmember Tony Fountain seconded the motion. Motion carried unanimously. Item B under new business, Mayor Weaver called on Mr. Looney to present a letter to Chris Stansel with the Pickens County Sheriff's Office to request that the city allows closing of Main Street on August 31st for the Show and Shine portion of the Jeep Fest from approximately 5 p.m. until after the concert ends at 10 p.m. Discussion followed. Mayor Weaver entertained a motion. Councilmember Kurt Rattfield made a motion that the council approve the closing of Main Street for the Jeep Fest Show and Shine event held Friday, August 31st. Councilmember Anson seconded the motion. Motion carried unanimously. On a related request, Mayor Weaver recognized Charles Cootery with Wingsology to request a special permit for outdoor beer and wine sales on the same night as the Jeep Fest Show and Shine event. He stated that council had approved the outdoor sales last year. Mayor Weaver stated that he would be under the same conditions as last year. Mayor Weaver entertained a motion to approve the permit. Councilmember Tony Fountain made such motion. Councilmember Anson seconded the motion. Motion carried unanimously. Item C under new business, Mayor Weaver recognized Sonny Underwood, Director of Planning and Zoning, to present an application for selling alcohol, beer and wine by the package from Ali Imran Naqvi, owner of Jasper Enterprises Incorporated, located at 585 East Church Street. Mr. Underwood stated that the background check had been received and that there is nothing that would prevent him from obtaining an alcohol license. He is requesting approval to continue the application process. Councilmember Kurt Rackville made a motion to approve the continuance of the license application. Councilmember Tony Fountain seconded the motion. Motion carried by unanimous vote. Item D under new business, Mayor Weaver called upon City Clerk Lisa Wool to present for council's review 2 reduced rate applications. Ms. Wool stated that the applicant qualified for the reduced water sewer rates. Councilmember Kurt Rackville stated that one of the applicant's address on the application conflicted with his proof of income year in 2017 Social Security statement. Ms. Wool stated that it would be confirmed the person lived at the same Jasper address that the water service was being provided. Councilmember Kurt Rackville made a motion to approve the applications if the address on the one in question was where the person was living. Councilmember Anson seconded the motion. Motion carried unanimously. At this time, Mayor Weaver entertain a motion to go into executive session at the request of Councilmember Sonny Proctor to discuss a potential legal issue. Councilmember Sonny Proctor made such motion. Councilmember Tony Fountain seconded the motion. Motion carried unanimously. Councilmember Anson made a motion to come out of executive session. Councilmember John Fowl seconded the motion. Motion carried unanimously. Mayor Weaver brought the meeting out of executive session and reopened the meeting. Mayor Weaver recognized Councilmember Sonny Proctor to make a motion resulting from the executive session. Councilmember Proctor made a motion that the City of Jasper waive the restriction on the escrowed economic development funds for a one-time use of $1,100 as part of the potential separation agreement for the former economic development director. Councilmember Anson seconded the motion. Motion passed unanimously. Finance Director Lisa Hoyle gave the finance report for the month of July 2018. Lonnie Waters updated the road accounts along roads. Chief Greg Lovell gave a report of police activities for the month of July 2018. Chief Steve Roper gave a report of fire activities for the month of July 2018. Councilmember John Faust gave a report on JYSA. Mayor Weaver recognized City Clerk Lisa Wool to present an alternative date for September's regular council meeting. She requested that since the first Monday of September's Labor Day holiday, would council be agreeable to the meeting being held on Wednesday, September 5th? Mayor Weaver entertained a motion. Councilmember Anson made a motion to hold September's regular council meeting on Wednesday, September 5th. Councilmember Sonny Proctor seconded the motion. Motion carried by unanimous vote. Being no other business to come before council, Mayor Weaver asked for a motion to adjourn. Councilmember Anson made a motion to adjourn the meeting. Council is scheduled to convene next at the regular council meeting to be held September 5th, 2018.
Council? Motion second. Motion second. Discussion. I'd like to say that when I told Mr. Ratfield that he could vote, is that he couldn't get out of it that easy.
Well, and it wasn't as much asking.
Well, I mean, she cleaned it up awful well. I thought that was
She has a lot of cleaning up to do.
I thought that was kind of neat.
Yes.
Because we're all, I think I said we all belong to something. You can't get out of that if you vote. So that's what that was said. And I'd like it to be said just exactly like that. I said that because we've got a lot of issues that we're going to have conflicts with, and we're going to need to vote and cast our vote for the citizens of Jasper, and it's a good opportunity. Any other discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote with show of hands. Okay. First item under old business, the Richard Street property donated. I'm sorry?
She can read the call.
We have a call meeting? Oh, do you have a minute?
I did, and I didn't put it clear on the agenda, and I'm sorry. We had
Okay.
2 meetings, yeah.
Okay, let's, council, your agenda don't indicate this, but we do have another meeting in between this, and it would be neat to make it for the record that we'll take the minutes.
Okay. This was call council meeting Thursday, August 30th, 2018. Mayor Weaver called the meeting to order promptly at 6 p.m. He requested Councilmember John Faust give the invocation. Councilmember Kurt Rattfield led the recital of the Pledge of Allegiance. Mayor Weaver asked that it be noted that Councilmember Tony Fountain was absent due to vacation and that Councilmember Antonelli will be arriving later. Mayor Weaver asked that the agenda be reviewed and approved by council. Councilmember John Faust made a motion to approve the agenda as presented. And Councilmember Sonny Crockett seconded the motion. Motion carried by the 3 council members present. Item A under old business, Mayor Weaver recognized City Manager Jim Looney and Sonny Underwood, Director of Planning and Zoning. Mr. Looney stated that a meeting of the Planning Commission had been held on August 20th, 2018 to hear a request from J.R. McLaughlin, applicant, to request a planned unit development be approved on parcel 053D079002 of 79.76 acres owned by Onyx Investment Services LLC and Gateway to the Mountains LLC. Mr. Looney stated that the commission had voted to recommend to the city that the PUD be approved. Mayor Weaver then recognized Mr. McLaughlin to present his preliminary plans to the council. He stated that the acreage was zoned for R3 multifamily, but he was asking to do less density than the zoning would allow. He stated that the plans were for 8 units per acre and close to a third of the property would not be used. He explained that a PUD basically means that the plans must be approved by the city and that following approval, the developer cannot waiver from the plan without coming back to the council for approval. Discussion and questions from the mayor and council followed. Mayor Weaver entertained a motion that the council approve the PUD concept and look forward to the set of plans to come back to council for approval in the near future. Councilmember Sonny Crockett made such motion. Councilmember Kurt Rattfield seconded the motion. Motion passed unanimously by the 4 council members present. Being no other business to come before council, Councilmember John Faust made a motion to adjourn. Council is scheduled to convene next at the regular meeting on September 5th, 2018.
Okay. Entertain a motion. And Snavy made a motion to accept the minutes as read.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion. Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council. Okay, under old business. Item A, Richard Street property donation. We discussed that the other night in the workshop. Jim, would like to get us updated and let's go forward.
All right. Council at the July meeting, it was council considered accepting property on Richard Street, voted on it, and city attorney started looking at getting the transfer accomplished. Before the August meeting, he had identified the possibility of it being very difficult to get a clear title to the property. As it turns out, there are a number of wills that have not been probated. He informed me this before our work session last week. There would be approximately $2,500 to accomplish the transfer of this property. My recommendation is that council not accept this. It is a small piece of property, and while it would have made a nice park area, the investment of $2,500, and that's just an estimate, may be a little bit high. So I'm asking for reconsideration of that, acceptance of that donation.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion to accept the city manager's recommendation not to pursue
Yes.
the property
Second.
on, what's the name of the street again? Richard Street. Got a motion, and I think I heard Kurt do a second. Any discussion?
Jim, has the family been made aware of this and they've not expressed any interest in their resolving their estate issues and then possibly?
They have been made aware of it and they haven't shown any interest. To say they wouldn't. And if later on the issues are resolved, I would certainly not be shy by bringing it back to council.
Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. It's unanimous. Okay, Jim, item B, now we can officially strike this off of the agenda.
Yes,
You give that
the
report again.
applicant for this license has asked that the application be pulled from consideration.
It's Jasper Enterprise Incorporated. What property is that?
BP on 53 and Pine Street.
And they're not gonna be selling alcohol? Here's one? Okay. Now, obviously. they have-
Jasper Enterprises.
Okay.
The big deal across from Speedburg?
And then, I mean, this was the last meeting that they would have got their license, wasn't it? Not, we did
Yes,
everything.
yes. And they talked to Mr. Underwood, who explained that to him, and tried to have him consider just sitting on it for a month, but this was their decision.
Okay. All right, under new business, Wingsology, alcohol sales, outdoor approval. I got Carlos Del Pizio. Come up, please, sir. Here you've been under the weather just a tad.
A little bit.
We're glad to see you this evening.
And me too, glad to be here.
What can we do for you?
Marble Fest, is Marble Fest gonna be, I mean, I know last year they had the bands on Saturday, and they planned to have bands on Sunday. We got rained out. So what is the plan this year?
Sons?
On the Saturday, the plans are the same. There would be basically a band, actually the same bands. And on Sunday, to my knowledge, there is no plan for bands. Can you know that, Kurt? No?
There'll be vendors down
The
there.
vendors, but no band, no
I
music.
know, all right, because last year we were supposed to have bands, but rather than close the street, I was gonna,
Main Street's gonna be closed from red light to the Woodbridge.
right. Last year it was only closed Saturday, I was gonna pay for the crossing guard.
It's gonna be closed Sunday.
It's gonna be closed
Sunday,
Sunday.
It's
but
gonna be closed
we
Saturday
got
and
washed out.
Sunday. Actually, Saturday morning, beginning with a race and the parade, it'll not be open again.
Okay, so what events are going on Saturday, Sunday? Just vendors?
Vendors, quarry tours,
Okay. And then I probably just, last year I asked for it for Saturday and Sunday, being that the bands were supposed to be playing Sunday, but if you're not gonna have the multiple bands on Sunday, I would probably just say Saturday would be fine.
No bands on Sunday. Okay. So what do you want?
Same thing as we did for.
Well, tell us what it is. We have to go back and research this all the way last year to find out what you did with that question.
The outside beer garden fenced in like we did last
Okay,
year.
you're blocking off Stegall.
Yes,
Um,
but Stegall will be closed anyhow, right? The
well,
main is closed.
yeah, well, you can't get to it from there, so it will be closed. It should not be a problem for the council to make a decision on that street being closed.
Mayor, if I remember correctly, is it half of Stegall, the half closest to your store? The trolley, I believe, Lonnie ran the trolley.
Last year, right, I can go halfway, I don't
Okay.
think we go full. So if you're gonna have the trolley running, whereas Lonnie ran it last year.
Yes.
And, yeah, I actually, now that you said that, I forgot about that. We did bring it in so he could come right down past the side.
Come down, go around, go straight back down.
Yeah, he goes, yeah, he'll come up, I don't know which, I think he comes up behind us. And I forgot his whole route, but eventually he'll go back behind, the old railroad station there, and he comes back up that street, and then he'll go down Stegall.
Put it this way, if you're covered up with customers, talk to Lonnie, he might be able to go up to the old jail, go back down, come back around.
I actually think that's what he did last year.
Yeah, he probably would do that for you if you.
I think he
you got
did that
the need.
anyhow, but we,
Let's look at it this way, the people from the trolley can look right into your beer garden.
yeah. And I think the trolley stopped by sundown anyhow, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if they're paying all night.
Well, with that, would entertain a motion to approve the request from Carlos Del Pizio to have a beer garden next to his business on Main Street as Stegall and Main.
So moved.
Got a motion?
Second.
Motion second, discussion. Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. We know we could probably mail this in too, but we sure appreciate you coming to ask for this, so we can keep it straight.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carlos.
All right, I'm gonna
That's
leave.
you're doing well, Carl.
Because I got an early doctor appointment tomorrow, so.
What do they do
I
to
do
you?
that.
Quadruple bypass.
That's not bad. Ooh. It's terrible. Sorry about that.
No, yeah, I wasn't expecting, actually went for a stress test, so it happened at the cardiologist's office. And,
Well, your color's good. You look like you're coming along.
yeah, I feel good. I feel a lot better than I did.
If I look back at you, you look so much younger than you. I remember you looking, so you
Lost
must be.
20 pounds already.
Yeah. Thank
So
you.
anyhow, thank you.
Thank
Everybody
you.
have a good evening.
You too.
Okay, item B, Pickens County Hazard Mitigation Plan Resolution. I've got a Kate Westbrook and a John Nicholson. Where's John? You dropped the ball on you?
I'm gonna represent him tonight.
Okay. We're glad to have you, and we appreciate you doing this for us.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you having me. I'm here to represent Pickens County Emergency Management Agency. FEMA requires that every 5 years the hazard mitigation plan is done for the county, and it includes all of the cities, of course, under Pickens County. So the plan is finished. It's been GEMA, Georgia Emergency Management Agency approved. It's been FEMA approved. The whole point of the plan is to identify the hazards, both natural and man-made, before they happen, which ones, and obviously volcanoes aren't an issue here. Things that the county could face, and then what can you do ahead of time just to lessen the impact of those hazards on the county. So there were 6 meetings, public meetings as well, to go over the plan, and so I'll be happy to answer any questions. I know it's a thick document.
Questions, council? I'm gonna throw this one in. I recall years ago, David, I might not should tell this story, but we discussed, of course, we're always concerned about Cove Creek or the Etowah, the water basin, and I made a statement one time after looking at all the rules and regulations that they tried to cover us, sort of through the hazard mitigation to protect the Long Swamp Creek and how we have so much permit that I said, nothing can happen to Cove Creek. And it was within less than a year. Mr. Weaver, Mayor, you need to go to the Cove. There's been an accident. Sure enough, a concrete truck turned over and was spilling fuel down into the creek. So anything can happen. Hazard mitigation, and trees can fall on animals, whatever the case may be. Things can happen. A few things I've heard this week I didn't think could happen. So we appreciate. What I want to do is comment for the council that the county for years has done an excellent job, whether Robert Jones can be the county commissioner all the way back to, I'm going to go back to Don Mullenak's days, that the county has always picked up the ball. I could have let Roper and Lovell make a little speech, but they probably looked at me like they wouldn't want to. Always on top of this, and we appreciate the efforts of the county. So what do we need to do? Vote a resolution tonight?
Yes, sir.
Do you have that resolution?
I do.
Would you like to read it?
Can I ask a few questions for the result?
Sure.
I'm just a little bit curious about the.
Well, I made a mistake, and we gave Dr. Proctor a copy of it.
Yeah, we did. That's right. I read it. Well, I went through it. First of all, it's some interesting stuff in there, believe it or not, because of all a lot of historical perspective on what's going on in our county. But the actual planning process has dollars attached to that. Is that something that the county actually commits to and follows, or is that more like the comprehensive plan has kind of been accused of being something that we kind of put on a shelf and don't necessarily go through with all the things that we have kind of indicated we might do? So can you give me a little bit about just the planning and follow-through phase of this?
Sure.
Good.
Wait, tell me. He didn't believe what I just said, that y'all always did an excellent job.
I do.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
The truth is, it's going to sit on the shelf. That's just what it's going to do until the day that you need it. And for grant purposes, that's what basically if there's a grant out there through FEMA, GEMA, and you wanted to do an application for that grant, if it's not listed in here, you'd be immediately ineligible to receive, even to go further through with that grant application. Even though the plan sits on the shelf most of the time, if the plan's not in place, then heaven forbid the county or even the city were to receive maybe a tornado came through.
Right.
If it wasn't in place, then you wouldn't be eligible to receive any of the FEMA money that would come in the form of disaster assistance.
So this is all federally tied to the tied to FEMA.
Yes, sir. That,
I've
and
only
the
experience
grants.
with that, so.
They dangle quite a big carrot in hopes that you will sign and adopt this plan. There's potentially lots of money, of course, depending on the severity of the disaster that were to hit here.
And a few of the sticks, in order to get to the carrot, we do up to the plan, but we do meet with this quite often because the tornadoes usually start in the spring and the summer, and of course now we have hurricanes, and we've actually had hurricanes hit Pickens County in the past. We've had the snowstorm in '93 and the tornadoes in '94. The first 2 years of '92, '93, '94 were disasters in Pickens County.
Yeah, so we've had several tornadoes hit.
So, and all that, they can hit locations that can create a chemical hazard or whatever the case may be.
Mr.
And
John,
as again, don't tell Robert I said it if he's not watching, did an excellent job preparing. Thank you.
Mr. John Nicholson is very passionate about this, and I know that if you have any questions, even outside of this plan, that you...
Again, where is he tonight?
I don't know where he is.
Well, he was on the agenda. Tell him we're really upset. He did not come.
I told
But
him I
if you
would
would,
be
read the
happy to-
resolution and we can have more discussion on it.
All right. Pickens County Hazard Mitigation Plan Update 2017-2022. Whereas Pickens County and its municipalities recognize that it is threatened by a number of different types of natural and man-made hazards that can result in the loss of life, property loss, economic hardship, and threats to the public health and safety. And whereas the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, has required that every county and municipality have a pre-disaster mitigation plan in place and requires the adoption of such plans in order to receive funding from the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. And whereas a hazard mitigation plan is a community's plan for evaluating hazards, identifying resources and capabilities, selecting appropriate actions, and developing and implementing the preferred mitigation actions to eliminate or reduce future damage in order to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the residents in the community. And whereas the Pickens County Hazard Mitigation Plan Update 2017-2022 has been prepared in accordance with FEMA requirements at 44 CFR 201.6. And whereas the plan will be updated every 5 years, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Pickens County, Georgia, and the mayors and councils of the city of Jasper, the city of Nelson, and the town of Talking Rock, each meeting in respective session, that 1. Pickens County, Georgia, the city of Jasper, the city of Nelson, and the town of Talking Rock have adopted the Pickens County Hazard Mitigation Plan Update 2017-2022. And 2, it is intended that the plan be a working document and is the first of many steps towards improving rational, long-range mitigation planning and budgeting for Pickens County and its municipalities. Hopefully passed, approved, and adopted today.
We entertain a motion to approve the resolution as read.
Make a motion to approve the resolution as read.
Motion. Second. Motion is second. Discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. That's unanimous, and I will sign it for you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, sir.
And I think Lisa needs to sign it, and David, if you will. Today's date, be fine on that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you again for coming.
Thank you, sir, very much.
We'll let you have it now, and you can stay with us, or you may proceed on, whichever you choose.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you, sir.
Item C, water line to Pickens County Water Treatment Plant and Grandview Lake. Approval, we'll wait and see. David, Jim?
In your package from the work session, you've got a copy of the letter from the Pickens County chairman concerning our meeting of earlier in August. I cannot remember the date. It's not on the letter, but well, here it is, August 15th, special call meeting of the city council and the commission. After discussion of this situation at our work session, would like advisement from the council on how they want to proceed with this.
You might tell the council what size of line and how many miles or how many feet. I think David mentioned at the work session that we might need to discuss with the commission who is going to be the first to be able to purchase water, who's going to have access to it. Have y'all had a meeting with the commission or anybody from the county commission? No. Okay. But what we want to do tonight is basically say, yes, Commissioner, we would like to continue our discussions, and yes, we are very interested in running a water line to Grandview Lake where you intend to build a water treatment plant. Is that somewhat correct?
And I would like for council to consider the idea of possibly having in any agreement, a stated amount of water that we can expect to get from this process. If we're doing the 3 miles of line, and whether it's 10-inch pipe or 6-inch pipe, it is quite an investment by the city. I would like for council to consider a minimal amount, the minimum that they would.
What would be, I think, appropriate is that the council tonight, we've all read the letter, and Robert asking if we will participate in this letter, basically. And I would like for you to ask for a motion that would allow yourself, David, and myself continue to negotiate in good faith this letter, that yes, we are wanting to do this. It's our service delivery area, as we discussed at the meeting that we had with the commission. And at these meetings, we come back to this council with, yes, we continue the meeting, the process is there, because what we also want, I believe we discussed this, is the county, we would hate to run the water line at expense, and the county may choose to relocate the tank of the treatment facility. And we hear we'd be spending money without any need for it, except we'd serve 15 or 20 customers, and maybe some of those people who wanted water to pass may have drilled wells, and they might not be ready customers. But there will be in the future, because Grandview area, I'm quite a little bit familiar with their well water, and it's a lot of it has iron, a lot of it has sulfur. You kind of a pot luck when you hit when you drill a well, pot luck. But with that being said, tonight, if we could keep this open-ended, council, where we could allow the administration to continue to negotiate and come back to us with updates, and us give full faith to go ahead and sign off and do whatever to, as a commissioner, ask in good faith that we do this, and we offered at that meeting pretty much. So I think, would that not be the best way to encapsulate this, that we will have, you have all the power to go out, but we want you to come back to us and tell us what you did, and we can make a decision at that particular time, and the commissioner can move on in good faith for building this treatment facility, and we want some dates, because David and I have a disagreement on how much time it's going to take to get there, and how much manpower it's going to take. We've got to ford one creek.
And if I can say one thing too, is without jumping on the county's toes again, I know y'all told me.
Well, we prefer not to.
Of it. 300,000 gallon a day facility. Robert said in the meeting he's only going to run it half the time. So that's 150,000 gallons a day. 150,000 gallons a day, that's what we sell them. So all they're going to do is take that $250 from us that we're making off of them and put it back into us. And we'll be actually taking a loss for laying up
Well, this will allow us to negotiate that 150,000 gallons, maybe Sunday, they don't want their 333,000 gallons. That can be released downstream, we can treat the water in the future for them. I think there's a way that we can play this both ways. The county wants a treatment plant. It's clear and simple. He said that in a meeting, and let them have their treatment plant. But we can be a great backup for them. He wanted to be a backup for us, is that they're not treating 333,000 gallons. We can catch it. If they release it, there's going to be some loss, according to the engineers, through cracks and crevices that disappears coming down the creek. I think it'll get to us, because most cracks and crevices are pretty full coming down that creek.
So we're gonna send an operator up there to run it?
No. Well,
I don't understand how you're gonna get it.
I think release it to the
Release it.
The engineer said it would dry up before we got the bottom.
Well,
I think we can
get a good start with it anyway. We'll take what's left when it gets to us, and it may not be there. But our goal is to make sure 1.5 inches goes over our spillway during the most extreme drought conditions.
And at the same time, I want to remind council, we are starting to survey potential customers from Grandview down to where we'll be tying into the city's line for possibility of new service. Potentially 80 customers.
That's one of my questions. The residents around Grandview Lake itself and the residents on out Grandview all the way back over to Burnt Mountain Road. I know several people on that road that's been asking for city water for years, and it's just not worked out for weeks.
The day after the meeting, I had somebody from that area come in and try to fill out an application, and I had to say that's waited a little bit to have started building yet.
You can take the application.
So I apologize, I missed that meeting, but just to get us up to speed, all we're looking at tonight is to let our city manager, mayor, and our water superintendent, David Howell, go further into negotiations with the county, and before it's said and done at the end, it should come back to us, and then we'll have final expenditures, what's going to cost.
Well, David, can I quote you, David? Yeah. David is a glass half full type guy. He totally feels that the county's going to take our water and take it over and sell it to Big Canoe or East Marietta or whoever, which would be their right to do. But at that time, we might want to negotiate what's it going to take to go through our system and our lines. All that is negotiation for the next. It's going to be what I like about this 333,000 gallon is for forever. It's for perpetuity. The word I like the most when you deal with water, because EPD won't give you anything unless it can be counted on the most extreme drought. So that's where we're at. We want these guys, if I'm not there, to be able to go. I'd love to be there though, but negotiate this and get all this beat out, because I think we're going to be the first customer. Like I told Robert at the meeting, we want to be the first customer for the water, and because then we'll sell it back to them, because we got to play the game both ways.
They'll be the first customer.
David, we haven't agreed to anything. We just said we were willing to agree to something.
I know.
And I mean, we got some pretty strong negotiators, and this is our most valuable resource in our town.
I agree with
And in our city, and if we collaborate on this, we save them a bunch of money, whether they want to admit it or not. And I hate to say they and them and us, but we save the citizens some money, and we're not just going to give them that money. I mean, we talked about tying in, making our tie-ins better. Well, the county ought to be willing to partner on that, and we just, I think it's an unbelievable opportunity, even though it may not be exactly what we want. As the mayor said, it's 330,000 more gallons a day that we can treat that we can't treat right now. And
that's the whole thing with the negotiations. It gives you a chance to address those fears and say, we don't want this to happen. This is what we need. Just like Jim's saying, we get so much.
Snatch you up on that bus.
But I want to say that you have some very valid points.
Very
good.
And I think you being in the negotiation, knowing, I'm comfortable with that because you're well aware of all the issues. I feel good about that. You going in to say, wait a minute, what about these concerns? So at least you're going to address these things. And so I appreciate everything that you've done. And I think everybody does. I think we just think it's a good opportunity. But you're right. There's some valid points.
I like to go one step further. everything that y'all said, I totally agree with, but as good a staff as David has in himself, there's nobody better in the city of Jasper than that man to be in these negotiations, along with the mayor and the city manager. And your concerns, you should voice your concerns in these meetings and hash it all out to where we're all on the same page when this comes back to the city council, where there's no gray area here and nobody's in the dark.
If you're not hearing what you want, you need to let us know, or you need to certainly need to let them know, but no, we.
You have
Well,
some
that's
values.
what your knowledge base is there. We need you to help protect us.
Okay, but I still think you're a man with a glass half full. But that being said, we've dealt with the county before, and like Commissioner said at the time, and you guys said, it's a different little time, because I have stood toe-to-toe, and we stood toe-to-toe against the county on service delivery areas and little silly little things that have been discussed in the past. But silly little thing for us, the city of Jasper, is we've got the commercial area, and we've got to make sure that it has a water source for the future and not count on other counties, et cetera, et cetera. And there's other reservoirs besides Grandview that's full, that also have dam issues that someday will have to do repairs, and most little property owners don't want to spend that kind of money. And that's things will be facing the council in the future. So Grandview is just kind of maybe a little benchmark that we can use. But with that, I would like the council to make a motion somewhere along the lines of allowing city manager, David, and myself to negotiate with the county in good faith in order to explain to the council that we're moving forward. We want to run a water line there. We want them to have their treatment facility. And, but with that, we'd entertain a motion that we proceed on with sending a letter back to the commissioner saying, yes, sir, we will be happy to run the water line. When are you going to build the treatment plant? What dates? And who's going to get the water? All the things that we're going to be discussing. We'll send a letter back answering the commissioner. We'd entertain a motion.
I'd be proud to make a motion that we allow the mayor and Jim Looney and David to move forward with negotiating with the county to maximize the citizens' benefit of the treatment of water in Grandview Lake.
Okay, that's a motion. You got most of that, Lisa? And he'll say the citizens of Jasper, since we're representing Jasper, we're going to let the commissioner represent the county. So I promise you, there is a difference, and but it's all going to go through our different pipes. Was that a second? Got a motion and a second. Discussion? Is this kind of what you wanted out of this, Jim, tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we need to have some action, some motions to move forward with the county on this.
Any other discussion? David, any other thing you want to say? Being no other discussion, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council. Thank you, guys. Thank you, did a good job. Watershed, same crap. Watershed, this is how much fun you guys do. Watershed protection plan.
Yeah.
Council, David's going to say a lot of stuff about this watershed protection. A lot of things that's going to come out. This will give him ultimate authority to say, turn off your sprinkler systems, quit feeding your chickens, you can't wash your cars anymore. During drought conditions, you'll find that in there. And people don't realize it's not rained that much in the last 6 weeks. We had a monsoon every day until July the 4th.
Creek's still running out there, well does, so that's a good sign.
It's a good sign.
Noticed it today.
Yes.
All right, David, Jim.
Go ahead.
Before you have a plan, a watershed protection plan, that has been presented to the city, by Ms. Catherine Fox. I reckon she's affiliated with EPD.
And she's doing it as Fox Enterprises, or environmental, excuse me.
Okay, and before you have a list of tests that the city is going to be responsible for on an annual reporting requirement, and what you're agreeing to tonight with this plan is saying that the city will have these tests done by a professional organization that is capable of doing these tests or approved to do these tests on an annual basis, and that the proposed long-term monitoring plan is designed to meet all requirements of EPD's watershed protection grant for long-term monitoring as required per city's wastewater treatment plant NVDS discharge permit. City representatives hope to develop a monitoring and
Give the definition of NPDES.
national protection,
Pollution.
discharge.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hit you with that. This is a test.
I don't know.
It's point of source of
Discharge.
discharge.
Yeah, for that.
It don't have to be a wastewater treatment plant. It can be a chicken farm. It can be that stormwater running down the sidewalk into the creek.
Whatever hits the water.
Yeah, the city's responsible for all of it, not
Yes,
just the
yes.
wastewater plant, stormwater ponds, what's coming off the pavement, everything, and that's what they're gonna stop. They're gonna stop. You're gonna be responsible for the streams leaving your municipality, wherever you're at. It's gonna be your responsibility as a council and mayor and city manager to keep this up, and monitor it, and everything that you're over on, we're supposed to get with the county and come up with ways to lessen the, impact that we have on the local streams, and identify and eliminate pollutant sources, and implementation of more cost-effective approaches with regulatory compliance. As previously discussed, water quality assessment will be conducted on an annual basis for 5 locations, so the 5 streams, biggest streams they find leaving the city of Jasper, they will monitor, and we will be responsible for paying for that monitoring, and then we'll be responsible for the results.
Let me give the public an example. Today, not hitting Georgia Power, it was actually a contractor working on Georgia Power's lines. We're spraying herbicide on kudzu that we use to fight soil erosion. Of course, when it runs up your power lines, it's got to come down somehow, but they were spraying it. Where does that poison end up?
Stream.
And where does that stream down my side of town, where did it end up at our water intake? And a few years ago, the county, not this administration, a few administrations back, sprayed every bit of kudzu retardant all over the county, and all that fed in the system. That would not be allowed anymore, would it not?
Well, I mean, with this, when this right here really gets into where these towns and municipalities are having to follow this, like I say, it's been very vague. They've done the assessment, but nobody ever really has jumped in and started doing the testing. Once the testing starts, and she had an article in the paper this year about the fecal problem that Pickens County has already in its streams, probably wouldn't want to.
Well, our largest,
the fish
Fecal.
in the stream.
Fecal.
Yes.
well, our largest pollutant is chicken manure.
Yeah.
So,
And so what this is trying to, and when you read your book, I think everybody has a book, Jim, it tells you they're trying to get it to where you can actually fish with safety. You don't have to worry about the fish you have caught having, too much fecal coliform to actually eat. So same way when you go to the beach and it's got the sign up saying, no swimming E. coli high or whatever. But
our wastewater treatment is the safest discharge that we have in the county.
Yes, I mean, a lot of this is gonna come, from your lakes and these sedimentation ponds, there's no oxidation going on. So that pond's sitting there, animals coming by and everything else sitting there, so there's no telling what the fecal count is one of these big holding ponds that hold the water to where it doesn't wash the stream away, but at the same time, you're holding that water, and it's, water's
You ever
great
thought that
every day.
the retention pond would be a problem?
Yes, so all of that is gonna be, put on y'all, once this testing is complete. We'll have to get with, our surrounding counties and cities and come up with a plan to lessen that. And that's all this is. This is just to say that we will do the testing, not that we're gonna hire Fox, correct?
No, it's not that we're hiring Fox. This is a condition of your wastewater permit, and Fox will give us a letter to confirm that we acknowledge the plan, accept the plan.
Why did Fox do this? I've been asking that question. Are they retained by the EPD? Or they just show up and that's part of their marketing scheme?
That was my feeling, was that she was. That's
Yeah.
what she made me feel that EPD had sent out. certain
Okay,
people.
I'm not familiar with it either.
But we will, the monitoring, we will certainly get
Has
a,
anybody asked Ben Turnseed about this firm, and are they familiar with it? They can probably give you more updates.
and we're gonna work with Ben and getting other people to bid on the monitoring that needs to be done to,
Well, they might know a little bit about Fox too. Call Chris Boucher tomorrow. Go ahead.
that's it. We're accepting this. Fox will be giving us a letter for the mayor to sign. I had hoped it would be here so it could be signed tonight, but it is not. And in the agreement or in the plan, we are agreeing to monitor the water. We're going to have to find somebody to do that, whether it's Fox Enterprises or someone else that Turner should see, suggest we get quotes from.
For the watershed protection plan, this thing goes back into the mid-90s.
So this isn't anything new.
Now, we had to do a watershed protection plan in order to be able to apply for a wastewater permit discharge. Went all the way back to the 90s, because they woke up one day in Atlanta and decided that all of our little cities north of the fall line was discharging and using up all our water and wastewater permits, and so they came up with a watershed protection plan out of the legislature, and it cost every city and water system in North Georgia, all of Georgia, we paid $150,000 to $200,000 for this. We kept writing checks to the North Georgia RDC. I'd take them to Carterville and deliver them, and they'd continue working on the process, and it was a big operation, and it was just a mandate that was non-funded. And this is
a body of that.
This is the same thing.
It's coming right out.
Part of our wastewater permit, but it is unfunded.
Man, we've spent a lot of money on this. This is going to be expensive.
Yes.
Well, just on here, it's up over 100,000 just on what we've kind of agreed that we're gonna have to commit to.
Yeah. We're testing for those spineless bugs or
Now,
something.
we've never spent that before, or we used to spend it, we're not anymore, or
Well, we've had a break for the last few years from the watershed plan, and now they're trying to implement it, it looks like.
Yes, she's already working for the county, Ms. Fox is. She's already doing.
That may be where she's coming from, but the county does not have a wastewater treatment plant. So they're still having non-source issues, and their issues, probably more people in Limestone Valley is dealing with wastewater from chicken
And this can get
manure.
in the water plant permit also. There is a part in here.
But when they get into surface water, they'll be dealing with that more.
Yeah.
But with that, I think you're asking for a motion to proceed on with this and to give, for me to sign that document you don't have
Permission for you
today.
to sign the acceptance that I will follow up with Catherine Fox and get it available for you to sign.
Okay, and I want to make a phone call myself pertaining to Fox Corporation. But with that, council would entertain a motion to allow myself to sign any documents that Jim brings to me dealing with the watershed protection plan, so that we would be in compliance, is the word I was looking for.
well, we're not actually approving any dollars at this minute.
I make a motion that we approve the watershed protection plan as presented to mayor and council.
Is that good enough, David, for us to sign it and allow me to sign the document that would keep us in compliance? Got it for the second hand?
Yes.
Motion second, discussion,
Hopefully we'll be able to bring out 3 bids.
and figure out a little bit more what's going on with EPD. Any other discussion? Being all in favor, vote show of hands. Thank you, council. Okay, next item, item E, jetter truck repair approval. Dave, you want to hang around for this as well?
No, I'm about to do that.
Added it to that.
Thank you, David.
If council, as you remember, sometime during the month of August, the engine in the jetter truck failed. I asked for emergency permission to purchase an $11,700 replacement engine. We'd like to have a vote from council to, at an open meeting to verify that purchase.
Motion to approve 11,700 for jetter truck repair.
Yes.
Entertain a motion.
So
Got a motion? Ann?
Second.
Got a motion second? Kurt? Discussion? We have two jetter trucks. One, the pump has gone out on as well. Has that been repaired yet?
No, the motor has not been repaired yet. The other is what they call a Mustang that has just not got the capacity to do the work.
Well, I thought we had another truck available with a pump that was gone. I thought we got it repaired. But with that, I didn't mean to bring that in. 11,000, got a motion second discussion. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote with show of hands. Thank you, council. Item F, no left turn sign at Mark Whitfield in 53.
And we added the four-way stop at Confederate, Old Philadelphia Confederate and Philadelphia Lane. Council at prior work sessions has been discussed a possibility of making the turn off Mark Whitfield between the drugstore and Mike Lowe's property, making that road no left turn. Discussed it with different people. It is an action that can be made by council even if it is going on to a state road. And recommend approval of turning it into a no left turn.
I make a motion to put a no left turn sign at Mark Whitfield in 53.
Have a motion to approve this no left turn.
second.
John, and second by Ann. Discussion. Why is that, Jim?
It's a blind turn.
Short block.
Blind.
You come over that hill, and Jasper drugstore is not that long. Okay, and along with this, we also have a left turn going into the Bank of North, used to be the Bank of North Georgia, what's it called today?
Synovus.
No, yeah, okay. And that, we allowed that years ago, back before traffic was an issue, and it still happens, but one car can try to turn left into their drive-through and back traffic over the hill if no one lets them in. But this may help a little bit until somebody, it's really a mess when somebody's trying to make a left turn in front of them.
You know, there is a sign there asking people not to block that entrance to Synovus, but I see many times that it is blocked.
State Route 53, you
Just
can't
push
get it.
everybody back out of the line.
It's not a little side street. We can ask them not to do that on Whitfield Street. It's hard to do it in 53. But with this, I think this would be a help, a good start. So we might have some feedback from it for people, but not many people want to make a left turn there. Anybody who knows don't want
Smart
to.
ones don't.
Those are still alive.
Those are still alive.
Okay, John made the motion. Ann, did you second it? Somebody seconded it?
Yes.
Got any further discussion?
Do we need to do these separate?
Yeah.
I think so.
John made the motion to approve that, and Ann seconded to put a no left turn sign. And might do some marking on the road to make sure that they're only turning right. And not even let them go straight across, which they could if there was no traffic.
We would be entering a one-way road the wrong way, wouldn't it? No, it'd be the right way,
Yeah.
not the wrong way.
Yeah, so you jump across there, but that's dangerous as well. What you need to do is go down to the new turn at Holly Street, hang a left, come back up.
Well, I can change my motion to a right turn home.
Right turn only would be the best way of doing that, because you can't get across that street.
Let me change my motion to a right turn only.
Okay, I would ask you,
53.
let's just rescind that, and we got a motion now, you're gonna create a nightmare on them back in this hall. I think I understood John to say he only went a right turn only on that. And that was the second man, Snavy.
Well, I can't go straight across like I do when I'm heading home to get myself.
You can, but you might get a ticket. I'd say during, obviously right now, you can get away with it. But you can't, unless we want to spend a lot of money saying, you can do it now and you can't do it now.
Oh,
We
It is
can
cleaner,
only
it
say
is
no.
cleaner if we don't
No.
allow it.
You can pull across there and when they stop you, say, you know I'm a city council member. And they'll say, yeah. What's this? As they're writing your ticket.
They take a right and then a left. And go back that way.
But-
They take a right and a left.
But you can actually turn right there, go down next to Richard Street.
And
go-
turn.
And be a lot safer for you. Quicker.
You might want to think about moving to the north end of town.
Right.
You thought about selling that property? Okay,
If I
right
could
turn
if I
lane
could get what I
only.
had in it, I would.
Right turn lane only.
Yes.
Okay, any further discussion? What made you come up with this? Did somebody bring it to your
Some
attention?
council members have been mentioning it, it has been
People are
discussed at
right.
our work session.
Well, I've been wanting to turn traffic all the way down the other directions, to go down and go out Richard Street, but like we do during festivals, et cetera, et cetera. But with this, I think it'll work better. Any other discussion? Being all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council, that's unanimous, Jim. Now, the next item.
Next item, we have a request from one of the business owners in the area to consider a four-way stop on Old Philadelphia Road where Confederate and Old Philadelphia Lane cross. There is also some concern with signage on that corner, on one of those four corners. I can do that without council action. I can make some improvements there. But would like council to consider a four-way stop in that area. I did go out and look at it today. I think it's something that could help. There have been, we're not talking about a lot of accidents, but the business owner did tell me of some accidents that have occurred there.
Confederate is one that goes down into the.
Mountain City Business Park.
They're that much, I mean, for a four-way stop right there?
May I address it?
They're only seven out through there, but the county.
Well, this four-way stop would be the most needed because you have between 50 to 80 employees at the garment industry there.
A good number of businesses up there in
And-
the tater patch.
And well, then on the left, still on the left side, you've got G-Put, you got all these businesses down there that I think employs probably at least 150 people. And on the other side of the road, where Golf's Tractor is, you have about, I'd say 40, 45 employees there, plus tater patches up there.
And Napa.
And Napa.
Napa right across from Gulf.
Okay. Where's LS Decker? But anyway, but what you got is a curve that the design of this is not the best in the world. You've got limited sight and you've got high speeds and you've got a lot of traffic coming in and out. And I think you got a better potential for an accident there than on Arminda Street and Grady Street and all those streets that have stop signs further over. And I know you're not a fan of stop signs, but this one here could save your own life.
That'd be the fourth stop sign.
Fourth stop
It'd be
sign.
the first one in the city though.
Yeah, county's got to speak with three.
But this one here, I believe, it's a dangerous intersection.
And I know this is something being thrown at you. You may want to drive out there and
Yeah, go look
look at
at
it.
it.
Is there interest or concern from more than just the one business owner?
I've heard many a discussion on this. I didn't ever want to really do it, but it's actually time.
It's not uncommon when someone comes and asks for a speed bump, let's get, more than one person involved.
Oh, we wouldn't want to do that.
No, I'm not talking about
who
speed bumps, I'm just
doesn't
saying.
Who doesn't want a speed breaker?
No, that's not what I'm saying. If
I-
someone's asking for a stop
Well,
sign.
I tell you what we can do. I tell you what, why don't you just let them take a look at it before they make that decision?
Yeah, That would be my
I
suggestion,
think
that
that'd be
council
good.
drive out there.
I mean, I've been out there.
I threw this one on you fresh, we had not discussed it. Drive out there and.
I gave it to him today.
What time do a lot of the businesses there around Confederate, they close about, I mean, around 5 o'clock maybe?
It's busy at lunch.
Huh?
It's busy at lunch.
Yeah,
Yeah, remember, you got lunch traffic out.
you got Andy's over there.
Yeah.
It's quite a bit, and plus you're looking at Walmart's back door, and it's a shortcut through town, back across. It's a very busy road.
I agree, since it's just now being brought up.
Yeah.
I would feel more comfortable as far as just myself voting on this until we go and maybe, talk.
How do you feel about that, Hank?
I agree with Tony. I think we should table it until we go.
I'm not a big stop sign. I've grown up here, if you can't drive around Jasper, there's something wrong, but I'm not a big fan of stop sign and four-way stops. It seems like the whole city is a four-way stop and stop sign, but if there is concern and a need as far as accidents, then by all means, I'm all for that, but I think by this now being brought up to us, if we could all maybe go out and look at it, and maybe the next council meeting, come back as a group.
I think they would understand that, Jim.
I have absolutely no
Well, I
problem
think
with
that
that.
guy, the person who requested.
Oh, the person requested it's not looking for immediate,
I will have to say the one on Hood Road is done exactly what it needed to do, the four-way stop.
oh, yes.
Really? You know how much grief I got over that every year?
Well, I mean, if we could just stop them from doing 90 around that curve, we would be okay to.
Where, on Good Road?
Yes,
Where's the curb?
right as you come out
And Jeanette,
at Jeanette and Hood.
Where you coming, yeah, at your house. Where you trying to pull that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I tell you another
That's
Tony
a dangerous
discussion on
section.
stop signs is, I didn't want to initiate the stop signs on Burnt Mountain and Cove Road. That was just a terrible idea. Could you imagine trying to get out of that road today with no traffic control device?
It's hard enough with the,
It is, it
if
is.
you're on Ridgewood.
Yeah, we Ridgewood forget about it. You need to go the other one.
You're right.
That's why I go to.
But it's, I mean, it's crazy that the traffic that we've already had. And of course, we put the stop sign on South Main Street at Sellers and Main, and we've not had any accidents in that area lately.
Recently, somebody knocked the sign down.
Yeah, they didn't get the fire hydrant, did they?
No, didn't get fired.
On the other side.
Came off the sign, so.
I guarantee when that sign put up, I ran that stop sign at least 10 or
Is that
12
working,
times
Mayor?
before I even realized it was
Is
there.
that working? Have we seen a difference in that since it's been up there?
Which one?
At the Woodbridge, at Mike Garrison's?
Oh, I believe we're getting more traffic on that road now with the gold. But I stopped, and I tell you what it does, it has stopped a honey spot for the guys catching cars coming through town too fast. Hey, we used
But
to,
that was the original plan for that stop sign, the traffic coming into town, was it not?
yeah. Because you come through town, you come by the monument, going 35, 40, 50 miles an hour, and all of a sudden you're on Main Street.
Somebody's backing out.
It's scary. But by law, you can't put a stop sign up to control speed.
So we need to act on the four-way stop at, Old Philadelphia and Confederate.
Yeah, we're tabling it until next one, give you a chance to look at it, because
Table
this.
it, and I don't know if that'll take a vote to table it or not.
Yeah, there's that motion to table the request.
I make a motion that we table the, four-way stop at Old Philadelphia and Confederate until, next month's meeting.
Got no old business.
Second.
Got a motion second, discussion? Been done all in favor, vote by show of hands. It is tabled. Thank you, council. Item G, garbage service proposals. Jim?
Council, at a work session the other night, I was asked to do a little pro forma on our current customer profile and what the new rates would look like in revenue. That is included in your package. It's a difference of approximately $4,000 a month, an increase of $4,000 a month. That's included for your consideration. I would recommend council plan a public hearing on this, and I may be stepping on another council member's toes, who was maybe going to propose that, but my recommendation is that before any changes be made to our current garbage service, that we listen to the community.
To the
What's
first
happening.
citizen that has city garbage.
Mhm.
I know we've discussed this in the past, and, you know, the comment was made that we need to get in the garbage business or get out. And after those discussions, a lot of them are work sessions. The city that's, the people that has that service right now, provided by the city, really, really likes that service, so I think you're on the right track, letting them have a voice in this and letting us know what their wish would be.
Can we set a date on it?
I would, yeah, that would be my recommendation.
Well, our next council meeting, could we not just,
Oh, I don't know if
No.
you want to do it at a council meeting.
Why not?
I mean, would that
How long do you want a council meeting to be?
I mean, would that not be the perfect place for the people that want to voice their opinion when we get together? I'm not trying to cause confusion, I just didn't know when.
My concern,
When would you get with the people and let them?
We can do it.
my
I think
concern
you need
with
to put it
doing
out
it during
on
a
the
council meeting
advertising.
is just the length of it, Tony. But it's council's decision. It could be a long session.
Could we put it out long enough where we can get it advertised and try to get it out on the paper and everywhere so people know?
Yeah,
Let's try to do it the Thursday before the workshop.
Why
and then that
don't
gives us a
we
week to
do
absorb it.
why don't we do it on the work session night?
I guess my question would be is if we don't have, if they don't get a chance to come forward, if they don't get a chance to come forward, the mayor, the council, and city manager to voice their opinions, then who they voice it to? That's,
well, I think it's a work session with, I think it's a meeting that council attends. I question having it on the same night
And that's
as
fine.
a
That's fine.
open, as a work session or a council meeting,
That's fine.
normal council meeting.
Well, we've had council meetings when the whole building and the hall was full.
Oh, that's true,
Annexation.
We've been there.
We don't.
Doesn't say we want to do it every time.
And if
We
you
feel,
feel,
don't let a little fear hold us back.
if you feel like the Thursday work session before our next regular council meeting is a
I think that'd be
time and
good.
place, that's fine.
And we finish up, we have a work session.
Is everybody available?
I'd like to see it before then, and that way we can discuss what we heard at the work
Okay,
session.
well, we're right before the council, right before the work session.
Right,
We'll-
the day before the work session
Yeah, that'd be.
would be
That's
Wednesday, the
Tuesday.
25th.
That's 2 payments we have to pay.
That would be
For
the
the count.
26th.
26.
26th.
Okay.
And what time is our work session on the 27th?
6.
6 o'clock.
Always 6.
And so I believe in order to give people time to get off work and to be present, I think we would stick to 6.
Yeah, but I think the way John's wanting it is, John's wanting to have the public to appear on the day before, on the Wednesday before our work session on Thursday. Is that not right, John?
That's correct, so that way we
Mhm.
can soak in what they bring to us, and then we can discuss it on Thursday. Gives us time to
Soak it
think
in.
about it.
Well, that-
Key word, just business. Okay, so,
We get
well, what date
advertised
we got?
this.
Give me the date, John, I'll call for a motion. Or make a motion, John.
Was it 26? Make a motion to have a public hearing,
Is that Wednesday?
It is.
Wednesday the 26th?
26 at 6 o'clock, to discuss the garbage truck and what the citizens of Jasper want as far as the service.
I say the future of the garbage in Jasper would be a good way of quoting that.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. We're going to have a call meeting on, is that September?
September.
26th, you said?
Yes.
At what time, 6 o'clock?
It'll be 3
6
weeks,
o'clock,
it'll be 3 weeks from today.
in order to discuss the future of the city of Jasper's garbage.
Lisa, you get that advertised?
You can go work on getting it advertised. Would you like to see a special ad in the paper or just something in?
I think it would need a special ad.
You can get that.
And might talk to Mary, since she's there, she might like to sell us an ad as well.
No, not Mary.
She's in business. all of them. And help us out with your FetcherNews.com. We'd like to have a little ad as well.
So it still was.
Y'all don't charge us too much. Because we appreciate you coming and videoing our events.
We will do that. If there, was there a vote?
Not yet. Any other discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council. Was that unanimous, Juice?
Yes.
All right, down the cans down the road, Jim. Next item is H, Blight Ordinance Committee formation.
I'd like to recommend the council, they form a committee to study the blight ordinance and continue with the process. We have had discussions on it. I think this is something that can be finalized and presented to council fairly quickly.
Okay, I think John and Ann have been the champions of the blight ordinance. Am I correct? I know John has. Well, I'm gonna put you on the committee anyway. So, John and Ann will serve on that committee. They have no other options. Would you serve on that?
Jim, what are we waiting on from Bill? Still.
Bill's waiting on recommendations from council on how to proceed with it, wanting to finalize it. So this committee would be presenting any additions to the,
Why is Bill not here?
don't know either. Bill's looking for recommendations, so this committee would be presenting recommendations for him to put in the verbiage and have a product presented to council as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Did that, I got a really confused look like I
Well,
just,
we've already given him that, and he's already given it back to us.
Well, now you're on the committee, you'll be able to ask him that direction.
he's not comfortable that what he has done is
Okay.
what the council wants.
Okay, with that, no action necessary. Item I, Metal Building Ordinance Committee formation.
This one is not as far down the road as the blight ordinance. We do have a sample metal building ordinance that's been looked at. I have some concerns with the sample and would recommend that another committee be established to.
Can I establish the same committee because they could look, they're gonna have a double whammy with this thing. It actually, they almost tongue groove. With that, I'd like to make a motion if John and Ann would take that committee as well. Once you finally got them there, you stay there. Okay? No reason to form another meeting.
I will work on.
And we like to have a report from that each month.
Well, on the.
Under old business.
Particularly the blight ordinance, I think that
Yeah, the
one
blight
can
needs
be
to be done.
moved on fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Okay? No other necessary business on that. Let's go to I, dog park run approval, it says. I wish.
I think it's it.
Don't start putting approval, put in maybe.
Consideration.
Yeah, somewhere word beside the approval. Jim?
At the work session, I gave you a quote for fencing, an estimate of equipment, signage.
Jim, let's start back and tell everybody what a dog run is, dog park.
This particular
and where it's
dog
gonna
park,
be, and et cetera.
it would be in the Jasper City Park, in the area near the tennis courts. Actually, 2 dog runs, a smaller one with 228 linear feet, and then one for larger dogs with 207 linear feet. We'd have a man gate and also an 8-foot gate, so equipment can go in there and maintain the property, maintain the grass. Equipment could be anything from a recyclable material to wood, I would suggest we look at recyclable materials. And then would include signage that our liability insurance is asking for, and also dog waste stations would have to be installed on both of the runs.
Have you got a diagram what these look like, these runs you're talking about?
They are actually posted at, we have signs out on the property that could be looked at.
What was the size again? I know you said
Linear feet, the smaller one is 228 linear feet, the larger one 270.
Jim, have we
Linear
had,
feet of fence.
270.
Yes.
have we had that much feedback from the citizens that's actually wanting this? We have?
There has been some, it was discussed,
Could we have a public hearing on this?
Sure, we can do it at the same time.
I think we should.
Well, the
We're
reason-
gonna trade
Add
garbage,
that to the garbage.
we're gonna trade garbage for a dog run.
If we lose 240,000, I would vote for that either.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Do you have a, and once again, I assume this was brought up at the last meeting that I missed, and I apologize for missing. Do you have a estimated proposal as far as money-wise, what this is gonna cost the city?
I have a quote for $7,277 for the fencing. I'm estimating $1,000 for equipment, $3,000 for signage, total of $8,577.
Okay.
You said three,
That was 10,000, yeah.
he meant 300, I believe.
300 for
For
signs.
signs.
300 for signage. Did I say
What about maintenance?
Would have to be maintained by our current crews.
So a total of $8,500.
$8,577.
Something garbage people could do.
But they maintain that over there now, don't they?
Yes, I mean, we mow that area now.
Somebody put those guys.
Gotcha.
And, and I guess why I'm asking is I assume Ann has been approached by this. I have not. I don't. So I guess I'm going in this blind because I haven't heard anybody said they not have a place to walk. Now, I know in other counties, that's a pretty popular thing here. I just didn't know it was that popular here in Jasper, so.
Well,
And I think we have to have discussions before
Yeah.
of trying to keep dogs off the ball fields, and this would help that.
Could you walk the ducks over there and keep them off the track?
Right.
I would hate to clean up after the ducks over
And-
there, but we have to. we
And
have
while
to.
we're on this, I think that needs to be discussed, because I have heard people walking in the park that's getting really aggravated with the duck droppings on the walking path. And I don't know what we can do about that, but that might be.
I think we have permission to move 40 and working on that.
To better answer
40
your
is
question,
not nearly enough to solve the problem.
How often can we move for it?
You know, I'm not sure how often they would allow us to ask, but
And we're talking about domesticated, the geese. Where you gonna move the geese, the goose, or whatever you gonna call it? And Wayne, how you gonna clip his wing and keep him coming back?
I'll let Lonnie decide on
I've
that.
never figured that out, how you gonna, those things they fly where they want.
getting back to the point, the current housing situation that we've seen in Jasper with the new developments off of that area specifically, those renters have dogs, and they do have common areas. Unfortunately, they do have to be on a leash, and the common area is very small. This would allow that new development there, those folks, plus the current residents. I actually spoke with a resident out at the new developments out there, the townhomes. They have a dog, and they enjoy the little area, but they would like to be able to take their dog off the leash, at least run free for a little bit. This would allow every citizen that opportunity.
Joey, we had a thing one time with the city where we had them to register their dogs.
Yes.
Do we still do that? Or
I don't think that's
I don't
been
think,
followed
I
up
don't
with.
think it's been enforced.
No.
Since I've been.
Has not been followed up.
Yeah.
I'm making sure there's a fee associated. I think it was just asking folks to come in and.
yeah, I think it was a voluntary thing.
No, there was a fee.
Just to trust them.
Yeah.
We first put Lonnie to work, it ago.
Who would this say from the law firm?
It's not in the budget.
This what?
I said it's not in the budget.
I was asking where the funding would come from.
Jim, do you have a recommendation on that? Do you have a recommendation on the funding?
I think the operating fund can absorb that, and Lisa, you may say yes or no to that.
We did have some. I put it in the budget.
December's coming. When do you want to do this? Immediately?
If approved, I would turn people loose in doing the fencing and start ordering the equipment.
Entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we approve the amount specified by our city manager.
That was $8,500.
$8,577.
Okay, to build a dog park, for lack of a better term, or dog run, 2 dog
Actually,
runs,
2 dog runs.
and of course, the maintenance to continue with it. Okay.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Ann seconded the motion. Discussion. No discussion? All in favor, vote by show of hands. All opposed? 4 for, 1 opposed. Pet ordinance, first reading. Everything's kind of running together.
Alphabetical.
Pets.
For consideration as an addition to our current animal control ordinance, cruelty to animals. And if you let me read it, it shall be unlawful for any person to cause the death or unjustifiable physical pain or suffering to any animal, regardless of whether or not said animal is domesticated or not by act and omission or because of willful neglect. This section shall specifically include but not be limited to the following examples of cruelty: owner's failure to provide adequate medical care, water, food, or humane care for any domesticated animal. 2, use of caustic, flammable, boiling, or heated substances on any domesticated animal. 3, leaving an animal unattended in a parked vehicle without proper ventilation. Nothing contained herein shall prohibit a person from killing or injuring an animal in defense of his or her own property or person or property of another, including but not limited to the killing of the domesticated animal, causing injury or damage to livestock or poultry. Nothing contained herein shall prohibit a person from humanely killing an animal which is severely sick or injured. Method used in killing or injuring the animal shall be designed to be as humane as possible under the circumstances. A person who humanely kills or injures an animal under the situations described shall incur no liability for the death or injury of said animal. Right of entry. An officer charged with responsibility of enforcing this chapter may use any force necessary to remove any animal confined in a closed vehicle when the ambient temperature is 70 degrees Fahrenheit or more, or above outside the vehicle. If the vehicle is damaged during the removal, neither the city or the officer attempting the removal of said animal shall be liable for any damage to the vehicle or its contents. This is something that's been requested by the animal control officer and also Jasper Police Department.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion to approve.
Second.
John motion, Kurt seconded. Discussion.
Does this take 2 readings? Is this an
Oh,
order?
this will be an ordinance.
This
Okay,
is an
let's
ordinance.
consider this to be the first reading.
But
And so, motion second for this to be the first reading, we just go ahead and approve. Discussion?
I'm sorry.
Yes, you can.
Have you run this by our city attorney?
Yes, Bill has had it.
Okay, and the only reason I asked that is because I spoke to the police chief up here, Show and Shine, and in this, we want to make sure that we protect our police officers if it comes up to that point where they have to physically enter a car where the backlash don't fall back on us. That's the only reason I was asking.
Which is the purpose for the request. It gives our officers some comfort in being able to handle the situations.
Any other discussion? Being none, all in favor of this be the first reading? Thank you. See you again next month under old business. Ralph Hicks Circle, request city take ownership, Jim.
Have a request from David Schaus, who owns property that includes Ralph Hicks Circle. He is requesting that the city, he wants to deed the ownership of the street to the city. It does meet city standards, and
This curb and gutter has storm
curb and
drainage.
gutter, storm, and he's requesting to, we take ownership, city take
It's
ownership.
right, real close to the stop sign.
Close to the, exactly, yeah, off of,
Right there, I'll be able to see that.
it's off of Philadelphia. I can't remember the name of the
It's a
business.
little cul-de-sac.
How much-
where you
How much land is it? I mean, is this-
Probably a little better than acres.
It's, Tony, it doesn't give me the width, the roundabout is a 50-foot radius, and the width of the road is 27-foot asphalt, but it doesn't give me a length, so I really can't tell you the total acreage.
A little history on this, Tony, is this was laid out, developed, and the property owners at that time lost it to the banks. The bank sold it to Mr. Schaus, and then he realized he'd been paying property tax on the road. And that's our policy to take over roads that we annex back to the business park.
And I honestly remember having taken this action before, I wonder if we just never recorded it. John doesn't remember.
I don't remember moving
Either
forward.
way, we need to take the action if, and we will ask you to make sure this gets recorded.
I don't think everyone have.
It may not have, I've slept.
Well, I know it, they lost it in bankruptcy, and it's where it's reappeared, and it just kind of died on the vine because it didn't say. But with that, did I get a motion?
No.
I need a motion.
I make a motion that we, the city take ownership of Ralph Hicks Circle as presented by city manager.
Okay. Got a motion?
Second.
Got a motion, second, discussion. Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, now put it on our repaving list for me.
Put it on our list.
But I think it's pretty good shape.
Yes, yeah, I was on it today.
Okay, millage rate advertisement approval. Lisa, item M.
Put a copy of the advertisement in your book, but I found out, in the inflationary growth for the city actually went down. So we're not required to roll back the millage rate. And this advertisement is showing us keeping it the same. We had a growth in taxes this year to increase our taxes approximately $82,799. So,
Because of growth.
yeah, not inflationary growth, but just annexing buildings.
Several buildings built this year. And so our millage rate will be,
I'm proposing to leave it the same at 4.655.
4.655. Now, council, The budget is yet to be developed. And if you choose to raise it off of 4.655, we will need to explain this to our constituency in an open hearing. But keep that in mind when you're want to build parks and these things and cut out garbage or employees or whatever you're going to do. That's the budget. And Jim, how much have you put into the budget process? Have you had a chance to meet with all the city department heads?
No, we have not met on it yet.
That needs to be done soon. Otherwise, we won't be able to do our budget on time. And what are the dates you have set out for this?
To approve it in October, in November, we'll be approving it in November.
We're going to have several meetings.
Yeah, we'll have 2 meetings in November.
The budget committee needs to meet.
Present it at the 1st of November and approve it for the first meeting in December is what I usually try to do. And the budget committees, I have scheduled to meet in October, a couple of times in October. So we are running short on time.
So we need to approve it by our first meeting in December.
Yeah. Tony, would you be able to replace Jim on the committee for the budget? I'd like to have you in there. I got John replacing Jim, giving kind of both sides of the aisle looking at the budget. And that will okay with you, Jim? Because we'll meet here on those dates. So replace Jim with Tony and John, and myself, and anyone else who would like to show up. Jim mentioned today, but I think, I don't even want to come myself. It's pretty hard work. And, but there's got to be a lot of work done before we get there, so. David, you got your budget ready yet?
I think all the budgets have been turned in to Lisa.
Okay.
But I've run something up today to Jim, we gotta get a tank painted next year, so.
I don't even want to see y'all's budget. I can imagine. Have you got your budget turned in over?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Got a letter jet on it.
Somebody needs to go through this and sift through. We won't be able, this 4.655 won't be able to cover everything I think's coming at us. So, that being said, I'm not gonna be there, so we need to have this ready to go.
You don't plan on coming to budget meetings?
I'll come to budget meeting, but I'm not gonna meet with those guys and tell them they can't.
You'll see it at the
Somebody
budget
needs
meeting.
to, I promise you. Just want to bring that up. 4.655, do we need to approve that now and try to live with it?
Well, you're approving me to go forward with the advertising.
Okay. With that, council, 4.655 will keep us, plus we'll have $82,000 increase next year with our values. So we are making a little bit more money next year.
I done got that,
Huh?
I done spent that.
David,
Oh, I can imagine.
what David doesn't spend, Roper will.
Well, David's gonna spend out of the water department, Roper's gonna spend out of this money right here. But with that 4.655 mills, we would entertain a motion to move forward with this predetermined millage and try to live with it.
I make a motion that we move forward with the 4.655 village rate.
Got a motion?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. That's unanimous. You got something to work with, Lisa?
Yes, Lisa, you said the budget committee's gonna meet in October.
Yes.
Do you have the dates for that?
Well, I sent them all out to you in a
Email.
schedule,
Okay,
but I don't have it with me.
that's fine. I've got it maybe. I just didn't know off the top of my head.
Kirk, if you can't find it, give me a call. And
Can I change it now that Kurt know it? I'll be glad to give the 4.65 if you all the work you want to do. But anyway, that being said, let's go to the next item. Mayor's report, finance, Ms. Lisa.
In your packet, you have a copy of the, shoot. Yeah, of my finance report for, August of 2018. Local option sales tax, we collected $111,198 for a total this year of $834,628, which is $77,300 more than we collected at this point last year. The general fund, we're doing pretty good in staying with the budget. And overall, there's a few departments over a little bit, but overall, let's see, the lost fund, which is Fund 321, we've collected a total this year so far of $649,159. And there's a sheet in there.
What's the balance in the account?
Well,
Never mind.
no, you got a copy of it too, I just.
528, I think is what I saw today.
Do we have anything
something.
other paving projects this year?
I would like to get another one in. Really looking to complete the striping on the one we've already got. There's a few places still need to be done. I would like to have a recommendation to you at the next meeting.
Okay, and what date is the SPOS ending? Do we have that date?
Let's see, it
Be
was 6
June,
years,
July.
started in 14, so it's mid-year 20.
Okay.
Is that right?
That's what I've been working with, was the 20.
I found my number, it is $528,715.
I didn't remember the $728.
Well, with that, all this money's committed to road sidewalks. We got plenty to do with it in 2020, but we very well could, if we could keep our position, we could negotiate for some of our payments on that monster, Mr. Roper bought, the fire truck engine. Mr. Hall wants to build a treatment facility. We could change our goals with those projects. And but we need to start discussing this now and be ready, because the county don't like giving us 20%. So.
Jim, talking about striping, can you address the public about the parking places that they are within the guidelines?
I haven't seen it on the city ordinance, but I've been told that the city ordinance is 18 feet. The state standard is 18 feet, and I've seen that. And all of our parallel parking is to state and city code. Unfortunately, some of them on East Street and Mark Whitfield in the past were somewhat longer. And that standard was probably meant for an area that had fewer F-150 extended cab and bed trucks than Pickens County has. So it is difficult to park on, for some people to park on a 18-foot line, between the 18-foot lines. But it is the standard, and
Why are you asking that?
Because there are people who are griping about it,
What's the complaints?
that it's too small. And what I wanted him to address
On
was.
Main Street or East Street?
the side streets, the parallel parking,
Yes,
not
side
not the angled parking. We haven't had any complaints about that.
Because when they went back, they didn't have the old pattern prior, because we had them large enough, I think.
Yes, they
Didn't
were
have a
larger.
complaint.
Yes, they were larger.
So
And so
good news
people's
is we added
complaints-
some spots. Bad news is some people having difficulty getting parking in them.
Yes, and that's why I asked you to address it, because that's what I've been telling people based on our conversation with that when they
So
were
you
talking.
say we
about
got
small.
more parking spaces, this small?
And it is the
That's
code,
it.
it's 94, section 108,
Okay.
18 by 9, I think they are. We're supposed to do.
Anything else, were we done with the finance?
Yeah, I was just gonna say the water fund.
Oh, I started that, I apologize.
That's okay. And the water fund, we're right at budget, probably 78,000 is not recorded as expenses, so we're cutting it real close in the water fund. And I also put in your packet of checks that we've written for 5,000 and over for you to look at. And that's all I have.
Questions, council? Lonnie's not with us. Jim, you got any roads and other reports?
No.
Chief Love, item 6.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The Jasper Police Department for the month of August responded to 1,001 calls for service from the 911 center, responded to 55 more vehicle accidents, for a total of 189 citations for the following: 2 DUI, 127 speeding, 8 seat belts, 1 reckless driving, 1 uninsured motorist, 35 miscellaneous violations, 4 suspended or revoked driver's license, and 2 possession of marijuana less than 9. Georgia State Patrol issued a total of 87 citations for a grand total of city court of 276. There are 7 state warrants issued for the following: 1 for forgery and 4 3, 1 theft by taking, 2 theft by deception, 1 battery, 1 theft of motor vehicle felony, 1 battery. Miscellaneous calls answered: 56 alarm calls, 22 disorderly, 6 harassment, investigated 2 burglaries, 11 trespassing or loitering, 83 suspicious activity calls, and 19 domestic disputes.
Thank you for all your hard work this weekend.
And the Jeep Fest went.
Right.
So no failure to right turn only over?
No, we had it blocked off.
You come out, you can't go in.
Chief, I visited your department recently. Everyone there was in good shape and happy to see me. Clean department.
Yeah, we just recently had some renovation. Gave the mayor a tour the other day, last week, I believe it was.
And I gave him permission.
Yeah. Took Jim there this week, he wanted to see it, so.
It looks wonderful over there. It really does. Got a lot to be proud of.
That is something that Greg asked for a number of months ago, and unfortunately, it took a long time to get it done, but the guys did a good job on it.
Looks nice. Great job. Questions?
You're gonna move over into the vacancy.
Eventually, we will grow, eventually, I believe.
That building we purchased, it had 3 or 4 units. And progressively, we've worked our way all the way down.
Yeah, currently, the drug task force, we left those last year over there. And,
They're moving into the
we're
schools.
moving to the new sheriff's annex, over there.
Okay.
Although we haven't got a date, but it's coming soon.
They work well with us, and it's been a pretty good combination.
Oh,
With
We
the,
kind of hate to see them go.
with the growth we're experiencing, or we expect to experience, I'm sure
I'm sorry, say
the growth we're going to experience that you're encountering now, our equipment, we're gonna hopefully in the budget bring up a little bit. We're gonna work on that, I'm assuming,
yes,
You already got 30% of the budget, how much more do you want?
as much as you need.
No, that's not necessarily the case. We already got debate going on here.
all right, y'all done with me?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna give you all a Roper's budget. We'll come up with Steve.
I want that Learjet to be red.
Yeah.
It's gotta be green.
With a few flags on the side.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. For the month of August, the city's fire department responded to 101 emergencies. Those were 1 structure fire inside the city, none outside. 1 vehicle fire in, none out. No grass fires in or out. 14 motor vehicle accidents with injuries inside the city, 4 outside. 32 emergency medical responses inside, 33 inside, 32 outside. 12 other calls in, 4 outside. As of the end of the month, 916 total. Fire inspection looked at 3 sets of plans for renovation or construction and conducted 19 inspections.
Questions, council?
Leaves to start in the fall, Steve. What about
Very
burn?
long. Burn ban will start October 1st, so.
Oh, I thought it was September 1st.
October 1st.
Roman ticket.
Better hurry.
Steve, can you give an update on the new equipment?
Have a date set with Sutton Fire Manufacturer. I'll be going to Ohio on the 17th of this month for the final inspection of the new truck. Within a week of that, it should be in Alabama with all the equipment being mounted, so we may actually have it for multiple festival parade.
All right, that'll be awesome.
Update on ISO. ISO is re-inspecting us on the 13th of this month. I'd hope to put that off a little longer, but
Right.
Are we going to get a decrease in our ISO rating?
I'd like to go to a 4, but I'd be happy to keep that 5, to be quite honest at this point. Our goal is to lower it, yes, that's what we're working on. Anyway, we'll be inspecting on the
You go
13th.
ahead and say we'd have had a 4th win annexed half of Georgia. So.
Well, you know, if you bought me that ladder truck and that helicopter and all that stuff.
It may be in the mail. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
John, you got the JYSA news?
Everything seems to be going well. I'd like to thank all the board members and the parents.
And did anybody get a chance, I know it's Jeep Fest, did anybody get a chance to go to the football game Friday night?
Yes.
I coach football, I play football in Pickens County, I coach football in Pickens County, and I watched many a game. I went to the game Friday night, and those kids or athletes that we put on the field the other night was some of the best that I have ever seen in Pickens County.
So,
And I say that because they took out Pepperell, who beat us to death as long as I can remember. And Pepperell was they weren't shoddy, they just got made look bad by a well-organized football team.
some good linemen.
Would you see
Yeah,
something?
some good linemen. I've seen them play every game so far. And,
Well, they did great. And that being said, I like to pass that on to JYSA because every one of those kids by name played at JYSA. I think maybe 1 or 2 move-ins.
One of you, and then Coach Parker's really worked well with us. He's been very proactive.
How's that going now?
It's going good.
Has he been coming to any of the practices? I know
He's
he's pretty busy.
He's involved.
Okay.
I think they have a coach available to each of the JYSA. One of the high school coaches available to each team. Coach.
Well, you can watch some of the other teams in our region are on 5-15. That's not matching what we're doing here. And football is not the match or gauge necessarily of a community, but it's not bad. Sometimes when you see what the schools are doing. With that being said, we'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thanks, John.